Hello, welcome to sim.bc, where I'm just in the midst of fixing everything up here for you. Yeah, probably didn't do that much, but for me, you see, it's quite important that all of these things are on point. And I'm not saying that I'm stressed out, the 1 day or the 2 days that I'm not working, but you know how it is. Because it's quite usual now, isn't it? Now, I'm not into this. I'm not into this entire structure, I'm not into the routine of working for real, of doing an honest day's work 7 days a week. Sorry, no, but 5 days a week. I'm not really into that yet. I'm probably gonna get there, absolutely, but I'm not in there yet. But what I have noticed is that people have been, when I was growing up, and even still, people that I do know that's working now, they're saying that I'm coming up with all these things that I want to do. I'm coming up with this project, I'm coming up with this idea, coming up with this thing that I need to do at home. I need to do the dishes, I need to do the laundry, whatever it might be. And do you know what people do with these things? Yeah, do you know what they do with these things? They push them away as far as humanly possible. They just throw them out there because they don't want to deal with that when they get home from work. And honestly, I can say that after this week, I totally get them. Even though I've been doing the project, as I was trying to say yesterday, as neatly as I could, even though it was unstructured and all over the bloody place, I tried to do my things even though I've been to work. But yet again, I've only been at it for like a week or something. Even though I'm trying to do my projects while I'm still working, there are still things that I have actually pushed to today. That means that even though I had an entire free day today, it doesn't make it any easier to record or anything like that. Now, I might add, it's 6:05 in the evening, and I'm going to be at the gym. Not going to the gym, but be at the gym at 8, because I'm going to meet up with a mate of mine. And of course, you got to hold those times, because if you've said to someone that you know that, hey, I meet you at this specific time, and you don't show up at that time, that's the same as saying, I valued my time more than I valued yours, yeah? I think that my time is a bit more important than yours. Because, well, you made plans together, and if someone honors it and the other one doesn't without telling the other person that they don't, it's kind of bad now, isn't it? So I have needed to work at kind of a speed to get through today as well. But the reason why I took all of this up, the reason why, I've been listening to people saying that they're pushing things and this and that and that. I've been doing the exact same thing almost. As I said, kind of trying to keep the project alive over the course of the week, which has been hard, but it's been absolutely bloody doable, which was the entire point of yesterday's video. Anyway. I've had some things that I have pushed. For instance, updating my resume. I've pushed that for like the last 6 months or something ludicrous like that. I'm like, I need a new resume, but I'm studying all of the time. You see what I'm doing when I'm doing that? I don't mean that studying is easy at any means. Some people have a really hard time with it. I'm not one of those people. I would argue that studying is quite easy, depending on what you do, obviously. Some courses are more heavy than others. But still, I pushed it, yeah? I'm saying, in summer. If I don't get a summer job, then I'll do it in summer. Now I got the summer job, so I've been like, well, I do it at the end of the week. And I have actually finally been picking it up. So I've been updating my resume. I've been updating my LinkedIn profile. I've been trying to pick up with all of these things. I've been looking for internships for the autumn, potentially. If I don't just want to go back to school directly, I can do an internship as part of my education, which is 2 times fresh if I get in, but I want to find something that I'm actually interested in. I have been offered some internships, I might add, a bit smug am I, but I've actually turned them down because they weren't actually things that I wanted to do. So I want to find the correct internship, the right internship for me, which is easier said than done, I'd argue. But so I've been pushing all of these things because, when I'm not working, I'm looking for work. Am I right, people? Am I right? Kind of like the opposite to someone who really wants to study. I don't really sound like someone who's aiming for a doctoral now, do I? Or at least a master's, do I? I'm sounding more like a workaholic than anything else. Like, well, I'm finally off. What should I do? Well, some work-related things, because that's the best thing you can bloody do. Anyway, due to me having taken up all the things that I pushed over the week, and that I've actually been working through some of the things that I wanted to work through over the course of the week before today. I'm going to have an entirely free day tomorrow. Of course not, that's a lie. I have so many things that I want to do tomorrow as well. For instance, there's a bit of a music project going on in the backgrounds in the midst of this that you don't know of. There are some video ideas that I'm having that I'm kind of working away at. And other than that, I'm probably pretty much set, right? It's pretty much chill tomorrow, except for those things. But those things are unfortunately, or rather I'd say fortunately, because I'm actually working with them, taking up some of my time. Anyway, let's get into today's topic, which is quite a short one. I don't want to be rude to anyone who's like, yes, finally it's Friday, woohoo, now we're gonna get down to it. No, that's tomorrow, mates. That SNR is what we're getting all hyped for. No, but today I was looking at my notes and I was thinking that because yesterday, I had one of those bloody brilliant ideas that I was thinking that, I can talk about this. This is going to revolutionize the way that we look at the world. And then I wake up and I read it, and it's one of those, as I said, it's one of those things that you're like, well, this was a good idea yesterday. Haven't planned anything else. Well, I might as well talk about it, right? So let me just quote word for word what I kind of wrote down. Let's see if we can open it up quite smoothly so I don't have to cut, because that's kind of taking away the entire idea of raw material, doesn't it? Anyway, this is my brilliant idea. An unbalanced world, something that is discussed often in modern economics, but have little theory dedicated to solve it. Let's just start sinking for a moment. Now, the reason why I came up with this is because I was thinking, where do I actually want to work? And I think that I mentioned this before. I'm actually quite certain that I mentioned this before. But let me just try to, talk about it again, because now I've actually written it down on my resume. The dream. I don't know if everybody has that. Probably no one has that, but I have it because I want to be a bit different, yeah? I have it like the dream, working with something of my passion, working with something that actually makes a difference. And actually receiving that United Nations position. Yes, because that would have been the best thing ever. So I was lying asleep yesterday, or trying to get asleep, because I was thinking about me working on my resume and stuff like that today. So I was thinking, I wonder what I was going to write. Wonder what I am going to write. Wonder what my wonderful brain is going to cook up tomorrow. And in the midst of that, I was thinking, United Nations, better place for all of us. And then I was spinning on. My train of thought just sort of went haywire, and I was thinking, it's kind of an unbalanced world now, isn't it? I think that I talked a bit about this in yesterday's video as well at the end there, so I thought, why not dedicate a bit more to it? And that is, it is kind of an unbalanced world. We have been talking about this before, the way that, overconsumption in some parts of the world leads to underconsumption in a way in other places of the world. Some people starve while some people are obese. Some people need to sleep on top of each other, basically, to find the space, whilst others have all the space that they need. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not part of the problem, right? But even I am considered to be living in quite a small confined area in the social standards of where I live in Sweden, right? A one-bedroom apartment. Even though I don't see the problem, really. If everybody could, shrink down to this size in the living arrangements, let's say, per person I might add, then we would probably solve a lot of the different, housing problems that we have in the world. Anyway. But in modern economics, this idea of an unbalanced world is something that is often, it's often talked about. People often talk about how important it is to think about corporate social responsibility. Yeah, the corporation's responsibility to the public. And that basically means, well, there are some different ways, but let's just take the three pillars. It's sustainable economics, it's sustainable green management, basically, which is the environmental part, and then it is sustainable social structures as well, that they don't need to. In some countries, I'd say most countries, they kind of have some minimums that they need to arrange to, but otherwise, many larger companies kind of engage with CSR because it's good publicity, yeah? It's good brand image, good branding to say that we're actually helping people all over the world. I mean, just imagine Microsoft, whose founder is Bill Gates, who's walking around, but he's probably traveling around all over the world trying to solve all the issues that he probably can find with, especially when it comes to social and environmental aspects, because I think that they have a kind of a good economic sustainable practice in practice. Don't quote me on that. I do have no idea. The only thing that I know is that their founder Bill Gates is probably out there and trying to help as much as he can, because every time I watch him in some interview, he's basically saying that I've donated 100 million billion trillion zillion million dollars to charity and stuff like that, which is not to undermine the work that he does. I'm not saying that it's like fool him, just or to make a fool of him. It's just that I do not know the number. I just know it's ludicrously high, and that's 2 thumbs fresh, mates. 2 thumbs fresh. Trying to redistribute the wealth in the world. So one can say, if I buy a PC and that some of that money goes all the way up to Bill Gates and he distributes it to the rest of the world, then in a sense I've made a good deed indirectly. Now haven't I? No, probably not, because it's getting cut off on the way up to the top, even though you might think that at the time when you're buying it, thinking that, oh, someone's going to make something great with this money, that means that I don't have to, which is obviously ludicrous, but many people do believe so and do think about that, or think so. And that's a huge problem in modern economics, as I say, because we're always discussing this. I'm saying always, obviously not always, but in some courses it's kind of a heavy theme, talking about what is it that is actually considering to be an imbalance, because there is kind of a different perspective on it. Is it the distribution of resources? Is it the way that we trade resources? Is it the way that we form unions and kind of shut out parts of the world from that union, which kind of creates, I'm saying kind of, which definitely creates an economic and resource imbalance in the world? How do we go about solving these issues when we want to keep the unions, but we simultaneously want to open it up to everyone, which will kind of destroy these unions? Yeah, there's all of these interesting topics and interesting ideas, mostly when I've studied it, surrounding taxes in different parts of the world and subsidiaries, and should we really have those, or should we just let the market run absolutely bloody free and say that, well, let's not plan for the anticipation of war in the future, and let's just say that we don't need subsidiaries for, the European agriculture, and let's just move it all to where it naturally fits, which probably is Northern Africa, Southern Europe, Middle East, probably, or I'm all wrong and it's actually too dry in all of these places. But you get what I'm saying. Just let the wealth distribute itself where it needs to be, or where it feels like it needs to be. Anyway, but there is kind of quite a huge imbalance in the world right now as I'm making this video. Probably 20 years ago as well, and 20 years into the future as well. I'm pretty certain that I can say that with all certainty in the world, right? That's probably going to be the case even then. And it was even then. And it's probably been up and all the time up until this point. But I'd say at least 20, 50, 100 years into the future is going to continue, because the basis for, consumption behavior and consumption culture is that some people need to have it worse than others in order for consumption culture to basically work. Right? Because otherwise, how do we define someone being rich and someone being poor, someone starving and someone being obese? We can't see obese and starvation. So that was probably a bad case or a bad example. But what I'm basically trying to say is, in this consumption culture behavior, someone is always going to be rich and someone is always going to be poor. Even if that's just in relation to each other, that's still always going to exist. So we cannot really change that. But what I'm talking about is these extreme points, especially when it comes to the starvation spectrum. I'm not that disgusted about the amount of wealth that 1 or 2 people can accumulate in this world, right? I think that's just good business. But that's just me, right? I'm not the majority. I get that. Most people tend to attack those for, stealing from, the poor, which in a sense is correct. But it's not like most of the middle classes do anything about it either, right? I'm not doing equally as much as I should do in order to actually, fix society as a whole. Mainly because I have this ludicrous opinion that I don't, if I do something, it won't have an impact. And that's so stupid. And most people do have that. And and that's kind of what, creates this imbalance that nobody actually strives out to try and change it. Anyway, that's more of a reflection of me, right? And the people around me and how I'm interpreting society as a whole and the world. But, I'm 22. What do I know, right? But what I was going to talk about is that there is lots of different economic theories that doesn't work because, you know, the consumer isn't rational. If only the consumer was rational. Imagine how many problems would be solved. Anyway, that I'm digressing. That's branching out to a new problem. But there is not that many theories actually explaining how we solve the imbalance in the world, especially the economic imbalance. The problem, I would argue, for why there isn't, or rather the reason for why there isn't, is because, well, most, I'd say, economic structures that we have are based on a consumption culture, which yet again means people are going to be good at things and people are going to be bad at things. If that's only in relation, you know, +1, -1 in all of the bigger picture, of, you know, 1,000 possibilities, and they only have, and someone is +1 and someone is -1, they're still going to be good or bad, and, you know, poor and rich in comparison. However, there should be an economic theory that strives to kind of, whilst maintaining a consumption culture, because we can't really, or we can, but we probably shouldn't make such a drastic change to societies that we change the entire economic structure or everything works overnight, because that probably wouldn't work. But instead try to aim to make the, you know, make the difference between these extreme points smaller, or a bit, you know, more narrow. I would yet again argue that it should be the middle class who gives up what they have in more cases than not, and the upper class that gives up what they have, so that the lower class can come up and let the extremely rich be extremely rich still. Yet again, that's a very, very unpopular opinion, but let me just state a reason for why I think that. Now, I can be persuaded and swayed to the other side of the spectrum here, and other side of the argument. I might just be playing the devil's advocate here, but please bear with me. The reason for why I'm saying that is because, well, if the extremely rich give up everything they have to help the poor, which in a sense probably maybe might actually solve the entire situation, in theory, right? I don't actually know, don't have the figures on this. Whilst that could make a substantial change that is significant enough to change the entire problem for a while, that will probably not change society's perception and perspective on these issues, which will inevitably lead to that in the future these things will happen again and repeat. And in that scenario, in that future, the extremely wealthy might not make the same change again, because they were probably going to say, well, nothing happened, so we won't give up it again. Whilst in the case of if the middle and upper class gives away, you know, more as an accumulative, you know, power, that they give away as much as the extreme top percentage could have done before, then a lot of people would make the change, and since all of the people make a change, it will be a social change in society overall as a whole, which kind of would go to be a social corporate social responsibility, but more of a social responsibility. Make sense? Makes sense. Anyway, mates, that was it for me. I'd say it was going to be quite a short video, but I was rambling on for a good 20 minutes there, almost, right? So, yeah, have a nice one, mates, and I'll see you tomorrow with probably less of these earworms, or whatever you want to call them, right, that I'm having right now. Obviously, earworm is kind of a song that you get stuck in your head, but let's just say a brain fart or something, right? Things that I'm just thinking about as I'm about to go to sleep, and I'm thinking about, how is the imbalance in the world really? What do you think about it? Obviously, if you didn't agree with me, then please leave a comment in the comment section below stating why you agreed or why you disagreed. Will be the best thing ever. Great kind of a discussion in there, yeah? Anyway, mates, have a nice one. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.